30, lecture 30. I rebooted. Maybe it will be fresh. Allow me to do all this material. Get 25 minutes. This has been chunky. Still on the semiotic square, getting our data into this huge collective event called COVID quarantine, epidemic, pandemic, like the Black Plague killing 1/3 of all of Europe. There's hardly people who weren't touched and transformed. Why not articulate that transformation into freedom of thought and so forth? So we're using a semiotic square to do this, so that people can have a sort of extracted from the Aristotelian square. You say, oh, this is the oldest, stodgiest Western thing. It still works. I've taught all over the world. I taught in Confucian countries, taught in the West, lectured all over China, lived in Seoul, Singapore, Tokyo, Rome. This little kernel of this little Western jewel, perhaps even Egyptian, of the square of opposition still shows up everywhere. And it's how we put information in it. Is light a wave or a particle? Is Schrodinger's cat dead or alive? Contradiction. Keep showing up. And certainly in our analog personal world, we can deal with these concepts. Moving on, social media reverses into false narratives, extends listening and speaking. We spend too much time on these things. I'm preparing this asynchronistically. We retrieve storytelling. We obsolesce expertise. Boo. Yes, the ranting voices, the 1,000 typing monkeys. In 1,000 years typing statistically the greatest works of William Shakespeare. It's, as we saw with Facebook, that involves these contradictions that we see. Tetrad, technology tool. We covered that already. Enterprise social networks. We covered this. Echo chambers, extend knowledge, human conversation, jobs and hierarchies. Once hierarchies goes, where to get jobs, and not just being a person living on $1 a day in a culvert, as 1/4 maybe of humanity does through various inputs. Could be colonialism, could be means to digital equipment, could be us. In the future, we could be highly digital and highly unemployable. I contend partially that we must start to think about permaculture as a feature of our new cities, in the sense of only the reality of post-peak oil. Put the notion of post-peak oil into that equation of future casting, then back casting, using the semiotic square. Oops, we've spent in 200 years 500 million years of stored solar energy in the form of petroleum. It's dirtied our planet, and now the hell to pay is twofold: the dirt, the sort of climate change because of that, and the dependency. Like an animal that soiled its cage, we're stuck with this habit. Moving onward, automobile, speaking of, reverses into a gridlock, extends the foot, mobility, retrieves. I also say extends the house, thinking in terms of urban planning. The house is this one of the major, the room, not the house, an extendable room. Retrieves the knight in armor. That's weird. Ignores peasants, pedestrians, while charging past. Kind of, okay, plumage. Cars become certainly status symbols anywhere. Thorsten Veblen's the conspicuous consumption, driving these things that are no longer useful, but exchangeful for insurance companies, gas companies, a form of potlatch, disposable income, creative destruction. All of these are psychological features figured back into exchange value. So this is into obsolescence. The horse and the carriage become kind of a unique thingy to have, expensive to maintain. Extends not just a pleasant drive in the country, but as in this recording and discussion of Henry Ford and his unique vision of allowing his workers to afford the thing they make, very non-English in terms of in European industrialism. German and American, the folks will get to use what they produce. Kind of unique to American German culture at the turn of the century. It's a strange little anecdote that Hitler was a big fan of Henry Ford in a way because of his polemical works, rantings. But the notion of the Volkswagen, the idea of providing for letting the people leap over traditional alienation in the English and the French forms of industrial production. The Russians took it a step further. The Americans kind of hit the sweet spot for a number of reasons. Henry Ford, Eisenhower era America developed these very tight cisgender narratives to which you could have house, car, 2.5 children, and a very obedient, sexy wife. Very cisgender. These were your dividends. You are the producer and consumer. The man in the gray flannel suit, great movie, goes into the city on the train usually, but then the car in the Robert Moses way. These were ideas and ideals already combated against in the turn of the 20th century with the Marxists, the socialists, the Fabians, the arts and crafts movement. But then again, after the 50s, with the civil rights movement, the anti-Jim Crow, the women's movement, and certainly up to the struggle of war production, war machinery as an economic engine of creative destruction. The protests against the Vietnam War, which I was a very young boy within. Learning 2.0, here's what we shall learn, here's what we did learn under our Zoom culture. Extends formal classroom, social network, traditional corporate university, boo, with algorithms, with bureaucracy, with techno-bureaucracy, boo, trainers, course developers, event-based, I gotta get a little closer, events-based training mentality, strange, IP production, distribution, versus into everyone is an expert, boo. We do need to treasure innovations from individuals, but when we get rid of silos, we also, to extent, get rid of expertise. Content and opinion are overloaded. Yes, especially opinion. Boo. 99-1 hypothesis, time mismanagement, just falling down rabbit holes instead of having project-based things. Learning groupthink. Groupthink is a big thing that's totally back, that Orwell argued against in the late 40s in 1984, Animal Farm, but it seems to have returned in the tribalized thinking created by these little tidal pools within the internet. Did this happen in the city? Yes, it did. There were areas. LA is the famous example of these tribes being isolated by cars, lack of pedestrian, lack of public transportation, and so forth. Loss of certified company staff. Yes, the gig economy. There you go. Retrieves knowledge management. Boo! What about the Socratic method? company subject matter experts, hire hierarchical thinking personnel. Yes. Community gardens. What does that mean? Retreats, community. Okay, whatever. Philanthropic. Portals as holistic sharing tools. I hate the word holistic, but there it is. Zoom culture, owned by the Chinese. Chinese company. The Microsoft program, the Google program, we see basic conglomerate. Whatever happened to Skype? That was the big one. That was it. Developed by that Estonian, made for free. It was like a paradise. It opened up a world to discuss with people around the world. Obsolescence, traditional training, one-way content, course, textbook, one-way training. Yeah, so now you get YouTube's of me, a professor lecturing to you without taking my class. It is online for free, but those taking it are getting charged for it through the SUNY system. Content-only training, e-learning development software, Kirkpatrick levels of evaluation. What's that? Again, it's pervasive. We saw under COVID. Enhance, reverse, retrieve, obsolescence, FaceTime, extend, reverses, retrieves. We covered this. Reverses or pushes to the limit, virtual live streaming, virtual live classrooms. Synchronous. This class is asynchronous. You're getting me as a message in the bottle. What does that do with your notion of time? You have to see me. Should I give a little trick question in the middle of my interview? Maybe not. Electric screens. Projecting, showing, hiding, protecting, testing, selecting. Yes. Reverse overexposure, imprisonment on your couches. Overlay of the visual by the virtual. You're observing my micro gestures. Am I really ironic when I say something? A lost art. Trying to tell you the pedagogical truth in order for you to get the grade and get the heck out. Retrieve pre-classical screens, erratic work, audible tactile surround. This in my space. Obsolescence, classical and dynamic screens, pages, text, visuality. Kills the TV. One way. Smartphones. Here's our little device. Enhanced communication access information. Obsolescence, landlines, cameras, scanners, CDs. But it's all in one thing. It can be made and sent. Hence Instagram culture. You make a treasure, a jewel, beautiful little filtered thing. Your body, your food, your sunset, your event, your life. Send it off. It's considered potlatch. You gave it away for free. The not just the disposable economy, the potlatch economy, the gift economy. You got to get something to give it. Even though the whole culture of pretty girls and the immense weight behind the beautiful young people, pretty girls, youth, is disproportionate for the study of influencers, which runs counter to other influencers. But there it is. We knew it kind of devolve into that in terms of this, as in the movie Idiocracy, these baseline visual stimuli. Retrieve, socializing, sense of being, telegrams, boom, 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 message in a bottle. I'm sending you guys a message in the bottle. Reversed, wearable devices. Yes. iPad, personal computer, but it's a pad. It obsolesces laptops, cameras, traditional. I do have an iPad here. I don't tend to use it sporadically. This one I want to use for art apps and see just how that is extended. PDA's notebook reverses, adds digital elements, traditional literature, formatting, storytelling. Okay, barcode scanner, all the little QR scans on the restaurant table. have enhanced your business processes or procedures. Will it make your business or processes obsolete? No, maybe menus, but you go in and scan. Often it might get sent to other directories, some other guy's menu, which is funny. Computer speeds up calculation retrieval. Anarchy. Overlays of bureaucracy via the overlays of bureaucracy sends us back to bureaucracy. Less anarchy. Oh my God. Perfect memory, total and exact total recall instead of biochemical recall. Enhancing bureaucracy. Sequence, approximation, perception, and the present. The artist, this came out really fun. Artists as new media. I can't even see it, but I can guess what's going on there. Let's get back. Moving on, computer blog, we covered Netflix, interesting, greatest selection of movies, shows, ability to watch on multiple devices anytime. Boo! I find this not to be true, that the reputation system, the ability to see classically defined good film is not becoming less of a thing. And that these reputation systems, the siloing of knowledge, what is a good film, what is a well-crafted film, what is an innovative film, what's a creative film, is found in the corpus of film history, not in Netflix. Shift, Tetrad, McCullough. Okay, moving on. Internet. We have thought, we have thoughtless X, we have the Athenian form, and we have books. Advance, extend, retrieve, obsolesce. Do we enhance thought with the internet? Yeah. We miss the interlocutor, but we can always find it. Wearable computing. Online learning, once again, computer-brain interface, something I do. It enhances, interfaces allow people to interact from distributed locations, medical patients. Yes. I love these things. It fits across the head. I've been using these for about 10 years from now. Hooking them into Maximus P, trying out little science fair type art projects with them. It's still interesting. The self, the other, the outside, the inside, the strange ability that what is ineffable and intangible, your biochemical thoughts, can control things that we can communicate outside of our voices. We can read the microgestures if we're that adept to read these biochemical processes, but the idea that we read them for electrodes, kind of cool, kind of science fiction-y, and it's out there. Is it accurate? No, it's on the level of kind of one-off trope art projects still. Social media, television, tetrad, we're covered the sun, interesting, as we're covering the ability of a semiotic square, enhances, projecting, showing, reverses into a black hole, retrieves the medium, non-human ground, obsolesces, the message, the human figure. Very cool. Gamification, another thing I dabble in. Enhances student engagement, performance, turning something into a game. Relationship with your parents, relationship with someone you're dating, your love affairs, your friends, your affection, your love, your city, your schooling, turns it into that. Obsolesces textbooks and libraries. Reverses infantilization of learning. Yes, that's what I hate about gamification. Boo. Increased intrinsic learning. Retrieves student-teacher collaborate. So we're like co-passengers on a journey. I'm the mentor, the Virgilian mentor. You're Dante, going through an inferno of gamification. Gamification has been around a long time. Iliad, Odyssey, the Bible. These could all be seen, certainly Dante's Inferno, could be seen in terms of the gamification of reality. How and why do we use metaphors to express and point to realities? The game that this invisible, unnameable thing, Yahweh, does to the Hebrews is also a game, certainly to Job. We find this rolling over again and again. Moving on to important things, reorganization, conservation, growth. Fascinating how this square is done over and over and over and over and again. I was interested in this whole thing on Bitcoin and the semiotic square that I found in a white paper at a conference, from a conference. Interesting. Finally, something interesting which has been filled with hype on Bitcoin, blockchain. Okay, what it enhances? Ownership of money. It's all fiat currency. Paper money, you bet it is. Gold, yeah. The least fiat currency there is, but still our way of interacting. Money is still mysterious. And money, according to Freud, resembles or is the symbolic equivalent of fecal matter. So it's been there long time in history that usury, loaning money on interest, was a big no-no. You've seen it in major societies. Ownership of money, security of transit, decentralizing activism. On the blockchains, dependency on technology, these graphics engines in basic computers, the more it is amassed and the more the nodes are made in blockchain technology, the blockchaining of everything, including education, increase. Intuitively assert only uses flight to society, what it reverses, and not as a good medium of exchange. There was that concert, you go from Montreal to Vegas using only Bitcoin. I think they still have it. Difficult to pay for a Starbucks coffee with Bitcoin. Becoming less trust for access, business data. Okay, let's look at blockchain. Need for third party in transactional relationship. The verification, the ability of all of these machines to be interlinked around the world. Can we create cities with this new blockchain technology? Why would we? Why would we assume that the city could be mimicked or shadowed or doppelgangered? Just made that up. But the cities are. Let's go back to that binary relationship with the city and the internet. Is the internet only a city turned into a double? Could be interesting to see that. And down here in retrieves intimacy of transactions, innovates potential and value yielding businesses and products, all that other good stuff. Okay. I wanted to we talked about blockchain and all of that. Here's the operation, revolt, remember. In terms of extremely interesting paper I found in my data mining this morning. Smartphone, we covered that, all of that. Want to get just talking about blockchain, the ability to simulate things. What is a doppelganger? Is the universe only represented as a language? Bigger thoughts such as that. Can we only understand it as a language because we're unable with our faulty little senses to perceive it at a more ontological level? Vending machines, yes, I'm really cutting through the silos on this one. Classroom teaching, so we went from blockchain, Bitcoin. I wanted to spend quick surveillance, reflective militancy, self-policy. This is in my lecture file on your Google Drive to pick up. What is interest? There's McLuhan, what the oral, the written, the print, the electric, the different relationships, tribes, institution, markets, network. So we went from something really abstract like money and into something not so abstract. Oh, here's a little operation of Bitcoin and blockchain. Very fascinating article I'll put on a paper, white paper I'll put in your your file, overhead projector, this, that, and the other, motivators, triggers, ability factors. I'm racing through because we're getting into the 0 hour here. But I wanted to just touch upon something. Money is abstract, but relationships are what we hold dear. Maslow's, like self-actualizing, love, safety, philosophical, these foundation, but he was basically a bureaucratic, organizational man, institutionalist. These were meant for basically people who did not have these innate abilities, ill people, so forth. Moving on how we relate, and then we get into a notion of pervasive connectivity as social. Tribal feelings, excessive altruism, entrepreneurial models, toxic organizations. But I wanted to cover basic, I don't know what this means, but how we react to each other. Satellite dating, another extremely interesting white paper, enhances proximity as a primary criterion for meeting someone online. Where are they? Are they in the neighborhood? Do we go online to find that someone, to fulfill the emotional, intimate needs, especially in the time of COVID? Reverses, all introductions must be mediated. It is mediated by the site. Retrieves kind of the old school bathhouse in San Francisco in gay culture, where people went to the bathhouse. Obsolesces information gathering and deliberation, because you don't need more information than the face and swiping right. So the swipe, what does that enhance? And then we'll wrap it up. How do we like this gesture? Like, who do we like? Who do we dislike? How do we make quick judgments? What were you in? One of Dante's inner hells. Single file browsing, rapid procedure information, browsing without processing. Retrieves the weird thingy from the 90s, speed dating, and suspended judgment reflecting assessment comparison. Immediacy, our consumerist neoliberal economy leading to an immediacy, no suspended gratification, no work, as Eva Perel, I think that's her name, talking about relationship counseling, the relationship in the past. We married for the cows and to know where our children come from. Now we marry to end serial monogamy and have one person to maintain a very unidealistic version of love as a Swiss Army knife, as the perfect economy. Of course, that sets up for failure. Why is this important? The city is made of dyads. It's made of tiny relationships. People need friends. People hate solitary confinement. People need contracts of adhesion. Enhances convenience, reverses into mass compliance, retrieves mass production, obsolesces freedom. A lot of things are not pleasant about this, but are we, in computer science, all these things entering into this, but personal terms. The dyads, where are the dyads created? Enhance, reverse, retrieves, obsolesces. Online dating amplifies ways to get to know other people who are also looking for someone who would like to date. Boom. Right back to the ancient city. We go to the city to be stimulated by diversity, lowercase d, to enhance, extend the gene pool, to provide spectacle, to provide some sense of expectation, to meet strangers. That's why we go to the city. So this is the kind of a building block, an algorithm of these dyads that make inner core of a city and continue to, not just family. It's tough to raise a family in this city, but that is part of the interest in the cities as strangers, and so forth. We'll end right there.